The loyalty between family and friends can be a very hard thing. Evan knew this all too well. Torn between his loyalty between his friends that actually encouraged his pursuits and his father who he feared but wholesomely respected. We'll delve into Evan and the story of how he was betrayed. Betrayed by the maggots who were his friend. It's a radical change from the trapper we know today to Evan Macmillan, the young boy who cared about his friends, who wanted to see them do good, who wanted their hardships to be over, who hated his father's brutality and all what it brought onto him, who used his drawings as an act of defiance to get out of his father's iron fist. He chose to not want to listen to his father, to not believe his father. He despised his father's brutality, the way he broke his mom and tried to break him. But over time, Evan learned the true reality. The true reality of sometimes we have friends. Friends aren't exactly our friends. Ones that would sell us out and stab us in the back for a few bucks, as it was called. Over a while, throughout Evan's life, he slowly started to turn more into his father's persuasions, using the word maggots to describe the weak. Those who had been his friends, those who he had compassion over, those who he wanted to help, he was now calling maggots. The man who was sick, twisted, a pinch of sympathy Evan felt, it was turned into bitter disgust at his weakness, disgust at his ineptitude. Evan was becoming his father, bit by bit. It was only when the betrayal hit, the betrayal of his friends, who sold him out for a few bucks, when Evan realized that his friends weren't worth protecting, his friends weren't worth looking after. Screw the union. The union made people weak. A bleeding heart. He didn't want to be that. He criticized his uncle for being that, relished in the fact that his father had killed him, or at least that's what his perception was. His father told him he had the instinct that he had, the instinct passed throughout his family. Was this instinct the instinct of brutality, the instinct of the cold, ruthless nature that allowed his father to rule with an iron fist? Many things are known, many things are not known. But Evan is a unique case in general. The pictures he drew, the drawings he drew, creating stuff out of nothing. The drawings he did to defy his father when his father told him that drawing was for weaklings, gypsies. Those drawings took a dark turn, took a vile turn. He started depicting what he thought his father truly was, murdering his uncle, drowning his mother. The cruelty that he showed, the cruelty that he encapsulated. That's what he depicted when he drew his father. That's what he enjoyed. Slowly over time, after the revelation of the betrayal, he stopped hating his father. He stopped respecting his father. He started admiring. This was the Evan that we found out about in his initial law bringing. The Evan that respected and admired his father, that would do anything for him. And eventually, as we know, when Archie cracked, Evan took over the farm, holding over brutality and mass murders, trapping those in the mines, those maggots who had been once his friends. Pitiful in the end. But now Evan Macmillan follows a new being, the Entity. He broke away from his father. Maybe it's due to some of the lingering malice, the lingering hatred that he had for him. Maybe that's why he chose to abandon him, chose to chain him up and trap him in the basement. But that's irrelevant now. Now, Evan hunts survivors in the fog, killing and maiming all those he can, brutalizing all those people, the weak survivors, the maggots, if you would. For Evan Macmillan is no longer the boy who simply draws and creates. He's no longer the boy who had compassion, who had sympathy, who hoped his friends deserved better. For in Evan's mind, those maggots aren't friends. Those maggots don't deserve better. They're traitors, betrayers. And he made them pay. He made them pay in good turn. His father, he too paid for his brutality. And now, Evan enforces that payment on the survivors, brutally hunting them down and killing them in their own source. When looking into the Trapper or Evan Macmillan's backstory, it's clear that he has taken a great inspiration from one Jason Voorhees. Both wield around cruel weapons, both with a strained parental attachment. Trapper won from a more sense of admiration, but mixed with hatred. Jason, love and compassion. Both of their parents' influence drives them to do what they do. Both wields around masks and the similar weapons. Both hunt down their victims with brutality and force. For Trapper is a very strategic killer, very smart, pinning his prey down with exact precision, cutting off pallets, windows, vaults, and other access routes they have. Definitely the type who watches his prey squirm, just like the maggots he envisions them as. Strategic placements is what is key to playing Trapper, what is key to understanding Evan. Evan's own determination to stick those maggots who betrayed him in the mines, trapping them, like he does with the survivors, like he did with his father. For Evan, brutality is just one of his key traits, and just one of the traits that the Entity relishes in this fog. For even though Evan fights against the Entity, and has been rightly punished so, he still remains one of the most prominent figureheads of the fog. A spokesman, if you would, the lead character of Dead by Daylight. One would have to think that he is a very proficient killer at that. Very proficient at what he does and whose life he takes. One of the most prominent lessons you could learn from Trapper or Evan Macmillan is a lesson in how abuse, how a sick and twisted man changing a child's nature could warp them into the individual they are. Because eventually, no matter how strong the will, the constant overbearing and abusive force will indoctrinate. It twisted Evan's mind, slowly turned him into his way of thinking. He thought of these people as less as companions and friends who deserved better, and more as maggots who were weak and undeserving and pitiful. Learning from that, we also learn a very hard lesson, a lesson about not trusting people off the cuff, as the people you trust could be the ones that stab you in the back. Evan kept a secret. Evan kept a secret about the Union, kept a secret about his drawings, But for them, they didn't care about that. A few bucks was all it took for them to betray him, betray his trust, betray what they had. It's no wonder that Evan saw them as liabilities, saw them as people he had to punish, people he had to see squirm like the true maggots they were. For Evan kept the secret of the union so it could grow strong, so they could get better hours, better pay, so they could get better treatment. But in the end, they threw him to the lion, his father, and just let him go. But his father, in a way, didn't use this as a way to punish Evan. He used this as a way to teach him a lesson, to fully let his indoctrination sit, fully let the indoctrination take hold. He told him about the betrayal, told him about how Evan needs to learn. For in Evan's mind, his father was right. He gave them an inch and they took a mile. For in life, I think we all know of people like that. Friends who we have, who we put trust in, who will do anything to defend. But they'd throw us away with the slightest bit of provocation. For Evan, those types of friends turned him into who he is today. That combined with his father's hand made him a tool for complete and utter chaos. Now, for their choices, Evan's in the fog, killing survivors left and right, punishing those who are maggots beneath him. And all it took was the influence of his father, the betrayal of his friends, to turn him into the brutal monster that he is now. For that is what happens when you are betrayed by maggots.